Thanks a lot for being here, to all of you. My name is Thodoris Bais. You can just call me Theo, actually. Founder and leader of Utrecht Java user group, where we've been organizing events for the past 3 years. And actually, we had even yesterday a meetup. So I woke up today quite tired from that meetup. And I was thinking to myself, why? Why are you doing this thing to yourself? Why are you still organizing meetups? So that meant the beginning of a puzzle. As engineers, we like solving puzzles most of the times with friends or with people, other people. That's why I do have today our community experts to help us answering a few questions regarding communities. So, regarding the logistics a bit of the session, if at any moment you feel like having a question, please feel free to raise your hand, and I will try to repeat the question, and our experts will answer it. Now, shall we kick it off with a short round of introductions? Ramon?
Yes, does this work? Yes. So my name is Ramon Wieleman, or Raymond in English, whatever you prefer. I'm a board member of the Amsterdam Java user group. We do monthly meetups in and around Amsterdam. We currently have over 2,000 members on meetup.com. I'm now a board member at the Amsterdam Java user group for almost 1.5 years. Before this, I worked 6 years as a community manager for the NLJUG, the Dutch Java user group, where I made the Java magazine and worked on events like TEQnation, JVol, JSpring. And also, I started working there as a community manager because I did a master's study on the working of communities online and offline. And my master thesis was about the NLJUG, actually. I can tell about that later on, I guess.
My name is Bert-Jan Schrijver, or Bert-Jan Schrijver in English. So I'm in the board of the NLJUG, the Netherlands Java user group. So what do? We publish a magazine 4 times a year. We organize events like TEQnation, JVol, and JSpring.
Hello, my name is Richelle Bucenius. I am the community / sales. I have a lot of hats. So I work for the company Reshift Digital, the largest media IT company in the Netherlands. And we are working for the NLJUG. So we are the organizers of JSpring and JVol. And now, today, organizing TEQnation. Also organizers of Future Tech for all .NET developers. So we are very proud, and we are very proud to do all the beautiful events for all the .NET developer communities. So I'm responsible for sales. I'm the linking pin with the sponsors. I'm the one who says, show me the money. But then you get a lot of love, and I'm very proud to have you here today.
My name is Erik. I run the .NET Amsterdam meetup. It's around 400 to 500 people, I believe, somewhere in that range. People, and the Aurelia Amsterdam meetup, which is a small one for a front-end framework like React, Angular, Vue, those kind of things.
I'm Marcel Meijer, or the dude in English. And I'm the chairman of Future Tech. I'm the chairman of SDN, Software Development Network. And within the Software Developer Network, we also have the SDN Cast, which is every Thursday. We have a live stream with 2 others casting, talking about technology, whatever comes to mind. We have sometimes demos, etc. We also have a meetup, and we are producing a quarterly magazine, and I'm organizing every 3 months event. So that's my part of it.
Okay, cool. I guess it's about time to now officially kick it off. And given the introductions from everybody and the topic of today, I'm still wondering, let's assume I am a developer and I'm really passionate about what I'm doing, right? So I have an idea to start my own community, right? How can I start? What is the very first step? What steps do I need to take in order to get started? So how can I set up a tech community?
Just start at your own company. And create a knowledge sharing evening at your company. And if you start over there, then invite outsiders from your personal friendships, and then ask them to join, and then it will grow, and then you will get a meetup. That's my opinion.
Any more?
Or look around on Meetup if there is already a Meetup nearby, which you can join. If you don't want to start it yourself, but just want to join in, that can also be an option.
Any more answers?
Yeah, just on Meetup, if you go to Meetup, which is most used for smaller developer communities or user groups, it's free. I think for the first 1,000 people, or for the free. You can just start it. You can pick the topics, and before you know it, you have a couple of hundred people that say, "Well, I want to follow the meetups that you're hosting." And when you actually schedule something, people will also register and show up, and then you have a meetup.
The only problem with that is there's a lot of people are signing up for the event, but not show up at the event. So they sign up, but they don't show up. So if you have a sponsor sponsoring your dinner or your coffee or your Coke or whatever, then that's might be a problem. So start small.
Yeah.
Don't
Question.
60%. Don't buy food for more than 60% of the people.
Question, yeah?
How do you bring that percentage back that doesn't show up? For example, last year I did a meeting, 60 people registered, about 6 showed up.
Yeah.
That's a horribly low percentage, and I see that everywhere. So how can you deal with that?
Yeah.
So let me just repeat the question. So the question is, how can you make sure that the people that will RSVP to your event will actually or eventually show up, right?
In Belgium, they also had that problem, and they tried a different approach. They start asking money for the event, and not a big amount, not 100 euros or 1,000 euros, but 10 euros. And if you came to the event, then you get the 10 euros back. That's a way to. So then the 10 euros is big enough for not showing up, and small enough just to do it. Eventually, at the end, all the participants to the event said, "Well, I don't need the money, keep it," and they didn't get it. They didn't ask it back. So well, that's the other side of it.
If you do it within the Netherlands, make sure that you don't serve alcohol if you're asking money, because that's not allowed.
Berian?
Thanks for that tip. I wasn't aware of that. There's a couple. I've given this some thought, especially. So when we're organizing JFL, it's 1,500 people and it sells out really quickly, and we have some no-show. We were starting to organize a couple of smaller events like J-Spring, and we had like 300 spots. And what if you have 300 spots and 60 people don't show up? So yeah, we decided to ask money there. We also thought about giving it back. This all becomes kind of an administrative hurdle. So one thing I've heard some meetups do is open up the RSVPs as late as possible before the meetup starts. Because if you announce a meetup now, which is in 3 months, maybe I sign up and I forget all about it. So opening up the RSVPs like a week before or something, or maybe a couple of days, a bit too short, but a week before. Also, with a couple of meetups I organize, what we do is like a couple of days before, we ask people like, okay, we're looking forward to having you. If you have any like dietary wishes, let us know. If you can make it after all, update your RSVP. And this helps, but still we get about 20% no-show. But this is fairly stable, so we typically just oversell by 20% and then things work out. But still you can get kind of extremes, like maybe half the people show up. So I think the only thing you can really fix is I think by asking money. I think that's the only fairly stable way. But then you need to ask, if you organize a meetup for 100 people, you don't ask money, and maybe 50 show up, then you have 50 people on board. Then maybe you say, okay, I organize a meetup for 50 people and ask them money. Then maybe only 25 show up. So what do you rather have? So it's kind of hard. I think you mostly get it from experience and also by chasing people a little.
So at the Amsterdam Java user group, we have the same issue, but I don't believe in punishment. And since we have an open source mindset, charging money is also something that we are not completely comfortable with. So what we do is we make a presence list of everybody who's there, and you need to sign up when you come in. So then that way we exactly know who's not there, and we send them a personal message, all of them, and with 3 strikes and you're out. And if you don't show up without changing your RSVP, takes a lot of time, but we hope it will pay off in the end to just make it personal and get in touch with everybody and ask why they didn't show up.
Yep.
What we noticed for TEQnation is that we noticed that everybody's very busy in their calendar, of course. So people, I think last week we sold over more than 200 tickets in one day, because everybody said last week on Thursday, oh wow, I can do it next Wednesday, so I'll be there, and now I'm going to buy the ticket. So I think what Ramon said is, and Bert-Jan, is that it's very good to give an extra friendly reminder. I'm fond of very friendly reminders. And indeed, a week before, everybody has their schedule, their work schedule set up, so they can know what they are doing next week. Because in case of TEQnation now, it's one whole day, not a meetup as from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock. So you had a question?
No, I have my own meetup and I ask money to come there, but I never charge it. So I tell them they have to pay to the work. They don't have to. But that makes the people who sign up, there are not much people who don't show up. Only last Wednesday when Ajax had to play, I had a bummer, but that's the only one.
But it only works once, right?
No, yeah. I have,
But the second time they know.
I have 90 people in the meetup, but only 20 sign up on average, and they all show usually. So if they don't know, they don't charge.
What also helps is if you look around what other things are going on. We did a meetup once at the same day as the Red Shirt Dev Tour or something, which is a massive Microsoft event. People were there all day, and we ended up with like 2 people or so from the 30 that signed up, which was the first meetup we did or so. And we need to check that, look around, okay, what's going on in the nearby area, and if there's a lot, maybe pick another day. That also helps a bit too.
I usually do that. Make a year in advance, make a schedule of all the events in our technology, in Microsoft technology. And even then, some big companies, I don't mention name, but they start with an M, they start pushing events just when I didn't expect it. And then you get something like a red shirt.
Yeah, Brian?
Isn't it an idea? I mean, I think it is Sweden, JFocus, they combined one of the major conferences over there, it's a Java conference. They combine it with a couple of meetup groups. So at the end of the first day, they invite 2 or 3 meetup groups from different things. So a Docker meetup group, a JavaScript meetup group, and a Steering meetup group. And they host it in the same building and they use 3 of their speakers to do so, to help them out. So I think to see and to collaborate with other events or with other meetup groups and join forces that can help you even more. Because we're now trying to start up an online community, which is even is a whole other dimension of working that out. And by working together with other people and sharing these things, we see that more people are engaged to join or to listen or to look into that community. So I would say combining forces would help as well.
Yeah, some of the big company conferences like Techorama, and there are more of those. They are next to each other, so they are sharing speakers. It's not meetups, but there are conferences, and they are sharing at the same way speakers on that side. In SharePoint, there is a SharePoint conference in Haarlem of Alkmaar, and they also have the DWUG, the Dutch Information Worker User Group, and it's hosted in the same location as the SharePoint user group of the user conference, the SharePoint conference. So they also use speakers from that conference.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can you guys personally share what organizing meetups has given you? I mean,
So,
or how it has
Sleepless nights and
so let me just repeat the question. The question is, what is the payback, if I may call it that way, right? What is the payback after organizing or by organizing such kind of events? What do we get back?
perhaps you want to share a story?
well, I'm because of my efforts in the Microsoft community, I was mentioned to be an MVP, a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, which gives you some benefits on the Microsoft side. That is one of the paybacks from organizing events. The best payback of an organizing event is that you all, my audience, gets more and better than me. They, the knowledge of my speakers shared with my audience, that gives me joy. I get joy out of sharing knowledge.
I think you can make the question even a bit broader. Like, why do tech communities matter? What do they bring to, I don't know, the world or the humanity? Yeah, I know. But you can also see it a bit wider. For me personally, participating but also organizing in tech communities has made me learn lots of stuff. Obviously, also met a lot of interesting people, and it was really good for expanding my network of interesting people who are fun to hang out with, or maybe have a beer or to learn stuff. It's also a very good way to network and to also get in contact with potential new employers. So I think maybe the past 3 or 4 times I switched companies, it was because of a company I met at a meetup somewhere. So if you are from the organizer side, obviously you should do it not with commercial goals in mind, but from a community perspective. So I organize meetups because I want people to learn, and I want also help people to start sharing, to get on stage, because I also think it's really important to get basic skills in presenting on stage and to getting your ideas across. So I mainly do it because I want to help people share knowledge, and also to meet people for interesting conversations and for building your personal network.
Yeah, you don't need. I didn't work for a Java user group to get something out of it for myself. It's just something that I would like to do back. And if you have I worked for the NLJUG and for the Amsterdam Java user group, and you met people. If you go to conference, you met some speakers. You just shake some hands, and the next time you see they are in Amsterdam or they are in the Netherlands, you invite them to share that knowledge or that great session that you saw on your stage as well, to inspire others in the room. But also one thing is Marcus Biel mentioned in his keynote as well. Yeah, everybody wants to speak at the really big conferences and be well known for that. But you need to start somewhere. And if you have no experience, there's no way. If you submit a paper, you need to be really lucky if you're selected at a really big conference on a big stage. So start local. And local communities, the rooms are much smaller usually, and you can also get a lot of feedback. So we always give direct feedback to all speakers that are on our stage as well, to coach them and to help them to make better sessions. And that's really appreciated. And they always say, well, you really need to go there because they can help you. And we always challenge our audience as well. So next time one of you can stand up here, and we always have one experienced speaker and one novice speaker. So that's really works well to build a career for the people to have a portfolio, speaker portfolio. Yeah.
Okay. However, I would like to get one step back. So let's assume we do have our community. So we've set everything up. How can we start partnering with potential companies who could collaborate with us and help us making the first steps? Maybe this or Richelle could help us there, given your experience there more. But I definitely believe the rest have something to share as well. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that I work now for over more than 6 years for the NLJUC with totally non-technical knowledge or experience. But the best way for me to work with our sponsors, like in this case ABN AMRO or Rabobank, is to get in touch with, of course, there are the recruiting companies. Everybody wants to recruit people, and if they want to recruit people, then there is funding money. But I think that the best way is to get in touch with them and to tell them that they really have to get really very good content. Content which touches the developer, which makes the developer a better developer. So then they can out of the session, they can out of the keynote, get out of the time slot, and they have to be inspired. And to get back to your last question, the thing I love the most about my job is to see all those people today and all those developers inspired, going home today and they're going like, I've got a very good idea. Let's do this, so let's do that. So the best way to get the funding is to tell the sponsors that money is okay. Money is okay. But the best way is to get the business units, or in the case of the NLJUC, to have the Java practice managers to line up with their teams, and then get their team together and ask their team, why is it so good to work at our company? A very good thing also is to ask them, what do you do in your spare time? What do you do in your free time? What do you develop? We had for a few years the IoT Tech Day, and then we asked all the sponsors who came, ask your team, what do your developers do in their spare time? And they went like, oh, they're building a weather station with IoT and some more. Do that, bring that, inspire other developers. So if that is born and the idea is built, then you can get the funding. And then also the CTO and the CFO and the people who sign the bills, they will be very much more inclined, because they know you think with them. You don't go like, cha-ching, that's our bill. No, the thing is, get your developers engaged with the things that you do. So.
John, any more ideas?
I forgot the question. The question was how do you get sponsors or funding for your meetup? Oh yeah. What I typically do is try to sketch the value of having a meetup at your company. So let's say you're looking for a sponsor and you know a good company that has like a good room. So you walk to the company and say, so you're looking for people to hire, right? Yes. So what if I tell you that I can get 30 or 40 people that are really into their own development and becoming better and are willing to learn and are exactly in the type of technology that you're looking for. If I would get them in your office here, would you like it? Yes, obviously. Okay, so the only thing you need to do this is to get a room, like a nice room with a beamer and some chairs, and to arrange food. And this will cost you a couple of €100 for a meetup. Are you okay with having 30 or 40 people who you probably want to hire all for a couple of €100? Yes, obviously, everybody will say yes. And that's what a meetup brings. Because you will get the exact people of your well, let's say, targets that you want to hire inside your own company, and you can see like, wow, this is a nice room, or I wonder what they do here, and then you could have a nice chat with them about the company. Don't go recruiting at a meetup, because that will have the opposite effect. But typically, companies are all right with hosting meetups, especially if you ask them like, maybe I can bring a speaker, and one of the people from your company can do a session too.
And it's always when we have a sponsor for Amsterdam Java User Group, the sponsor can have 2 minutes to talk about what they are doing at their company. But we always say, don't recruit, don't say, come work with us, don't mention salaries or anything like that. It's forbidden. But we always say go from the content, go from the technical perspective, and show how cool you are and how cool the stack is that you're using. Also, one thing, let's say you work for a company and you try to convince your manager to host a meetup and he refuses. I made a calculation once that you can organize 25 meetups with buying beers and pizzas and food for the same amount that you pay to a recruiter for one developer. And that usually convinces them to actually host a meetup.
Yeah, and it's not about recruiting. It's just about the branding of the company. Because, for example, the text office sounds like a boring company. Not the boring company, but boring company. But they aren't, and they have a lot of problems, the same problems as other companies have. So there are a lot of tough cookies to bake there. So they have to make their how do you say that? Their appearance, how they are perceived by the people or by developers. That is what they should be aware of. A lot of developers don't know a lot of companies enough. I think.
You can code throw $500 at it and expect to get a developer back from a meetup or something. That's not how it works. It's also mostly about. So, for example, we do a lot lately with Azure Functions, and I do this within my team. So we are at 4 or 5 people. But at a meetup on Azure Functions, I can talk with 40 people about Azure Functions and see what they discovered that I didn't find yet. Or maybe they did something differently, which allows me to see, oh, I didn't think of that. Maybe we can also use that within our system. So if someone from within the company can, for example, do a presentation on Azure Functions or AWS Lambdas or something like that, which they're using to share the knowledge with the group, you will also have that sharing back again. And
it's almost free consultancy.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of people inside your company for just a pizza and a Coke, and then you get free advice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm happy. Yeah.
I have a question.
Ramon has a question. Definitely.
Yeah, so we are here as community experts sitting, but I'm wondering why all of you are here. So what is the takeout that you want to... Why did you show up? So who's organizing meetups themselves?
Is anybody organizing meetups?
Raise your hand.
Okay, there's a couple. And who came here because they want to participate in a meetup or be a speaker? Yeah, a couple, I see. And who actually spoke, or from the hands that rise for the last question, so who actually never spoke at a conference or a meetup before? Ah, okay. So I think we have something to focus on.
Yeah,
Anyone who heard
definitely. Actually, I
Anyone
have
who
it in
thinks
my
like,
list.
oh crap, I walked into the wrong room, but I don't know how to get out? Okay.
Okay, if nobody dares, I will do it then. Let me jump to a different question then, given Ramon's input actually. A few of you already in this panel, you are already famous speakers. What does it take to become a speaker for the ones who are already here to hear also about this topic?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Again?
Start small.
And
Again, start small. So you do a presentation at a knowledge sharing event at your own company. It's for your colleagues. They are more. They give you feedback, and that feedback you can use in a real conference. And then at a meetup, you get probably the possibility to do that and make your title of the session a good one and make a good abstract. All those thingies are good. In my experience, a couple of years ago, there was a guy. I was standing next to him during lunch at one of our events, and he said, I like to speak, but I don't dare to speak. So I said, oh, now, give me an abstract, and I will make a slot at our events for you. And he didn't want it, and he didn't, and well, he went away, and he said, well, I don't dare, and I don't want to do that. A couple of days later, I asked him again via mail, so what is your abstract? I didn't ask him if you wanted. I asked for a subject. And he said, okay, yes. And then there came an abstract. I put I put him on the schedule, and the night before the event, I had a hotel room for him, and he didn't sleep in it. He was working on his presentation that night, and the fun part of it was his boss was also a speaker at my conference, in another slot, with another subject, but on the same event, and he was a seasoned speaker, so he was confident. He did it all good, and well, he was the best. The new guy working hard at night to learn his presentation, and tripled and rerun and all the stuff on that. He got the biggest room with the most attendees, and at the end, he also got the biggest scores on the evaluation. And his boss was lower. And that gave him, and now he's a user group organizer, by the way, but that's a different story.
Happy ending.
Yeah, I like this story because he didn't want it, or he thought he couldn't do it, but in the end he was doing it and enjoying it, and did what he wanted to do.
Yeah, there was a question.
So how do most speakers get their subjects? Because there's
Ramon.
presentations about subjects, and sometimes, well, in my case, you can get quite insecure about the subject. Would maybe like to present because it's already told 100 of times.
It's like the keynote speaker.
So,
There is the subject you wanted to talk about. Sorry about that. The subject you wanted to talk about. Your experience with that subject is different than another one. So your experience works for the subject. The question was, how do I get a good subject?
Yeah, I always pick subjects for my talks that I want to investigate, because usually you write an abstract, it's just 200 or 300 words from a topic that you think is interesting, you submit it to a conference, and half a year later you actually speak. So always try to write a proposal about something that I want to learn, I want to investigate, and when I got accepted, then I actually need to do it. And usually when you have a topic on your conference and there are multiple sessions, people who already know the subject won't join us. It will always, people will join who want to learn more about it. So if you have a couple of months in advance to actually prepare it and study about it, you're probably the most experienced person in that room on that subject. And I always try to make a story out of my presentations, so do something that you like that is non-technical and try to connect if you can make something technical out of it. Last year I did a presentation about how to automate the beer brewing process with the Raspberry Pi and some sensors. I'm not a beer brewing expert. If I did it at a beer brewing convention, I was booed away. But now I had some developers and I showed some Raspberry Pis and some sensors and handed out the beers and everybody liked it. So try to find something that you want to learn, and that works really well. For me.
I think there are 3 ways to find topics. So one is the one that Ramon shared. Pick something you want to learn about and then dive in there. I think there are 2 others. One thing I do often is look back at the past year. What have I done? What projects? What technology did I use? What did I learn? And if you're presenting about something that you've done for a year, probably enough to talk about. So looking back at what have I done, what do I think is interesting, and then secondly, maybe if you worked on a hobby project, I don't know, some IoT project or whatever, you're probably the only one in the world that did that project. So that's also good to share. I think the most important thing is do not try to judge yourself whether something you have to tell is interesting, because it's not your job to judge this. The job to judge if what you want to talk about is interesting is the meetup organizer, the program committee, the attendees, because they can judge if it's interesting for the event, for the conference, and they decide whether to put you on stage or not. Then the audience can judge whether they go into the room or not, that they think is interesting. If they're in there and they find out it's not interesting, they're free to go out. So I think what I try to do is just pitch some ideas to different events and see whether it gets accepted. If it gets accepted, I start preparing.
Misschien kan je wat vertellen over...
Ja.
Well, in case of JFAL, I am very proud to have a very good program for us at the end of Jug to have a very good program committee. When I have, in my case, the sponsors and they have go, I've got the money and I want to do 2 time slots, and I go like, ooh, okay, well, let's try. And then I ask for advice from the program committee. So I ask them, oh, how many topics do you have? And I can ask advice from the program committee. And in case of JFAL, there is a speakers academy, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so very proud to have that too, because I know that people are also very anxious to stand on the stage to talk to people who are very same-minded. So with the Speakers Academy at JFL, they will teach you how to speak, how to choose your topic, and I think that's a thing that you can also ask always. Please help me to help you to become a better speaker, right?
In the end, it's about doing it as much as possible, or not as much as possible, but doing it a few times. Maybe the first time you do it, indeed, with your colleagues. If you're working in 2 teams, present something to the other team. Go to a meetup, present it to a little bit larger group. What we do is do sessions which are called build by. So we allow someone to share what did I build with this framework, what did I do, what did I experience, what didn't go so well, what went smoothly, what did I like, and basically in that way give you a way to stand there and do the thing, because you need to do it a few times before you can say, okay, I'm now comfortable standing here and presenting something, and that allows you to get that experience, and then a topic is just something you worked on, or use any of the options to get there, basically.
Yeah, you can judge which speaker speaks from experience or speaks from a book, which is rather difficult.
Question?
Yep.
I'm not sure if it's already asked, but when it comes to community building, do you have a role model? If you do, who is it and why? Role model.
So is there any role model when it comes to community building? So you mean, is the question whether the people that are thinking about the same community or thinking about starting the same community, do they define upfront the roles?
No. The question is, do you have someone you look up to, a role model?
Or whether there is someone you would like to look like?
As a speaker, there are some Microsoft speakers I like hear speaking, like Scott Guthrie, for example, of Scott Henselman, or the other Scott. And they are great speakers, but for communities, no. It should be in you to share knowledge, and that's there is no real model for it, I think.
Everyone that's attending, I think, because they are there to share knowledge.
I think the question was, is there someone that
You
you would say, if you want to learn how to build a community,
Yeah.
check out what that guy did.
whether there is someone you admire, right?
Look at us.
I can elaborate also a bit more on that one, and I will make a connection to the speakers incubator that Rachel mentioned for NL Jug. We also started something similar to that to the Utrecht Jug. We are already on our 3rd phase, and the only thing we insist on every time when it comes to speakers, we say, please do not look at any other famous speakers, because everyone should develop their own path, let's say. Everyone has their own personality and a different way of thinking and different experiences from their life, of course. Any more ideas? Brianna?
Regarding your question about a role model, I think everybody who was able to set up a fairly successful community could serve as a role model. So I enjoy what the Utrecht Jug and Amsterdam Jug have done, kind of looking at it from a distance, but they become fairly successful in a couple of years. So no clear role models. I think I just always look at how do other communities do it. So I speak a lot to other Java user group leaders around the world, like what problems do you have, how do you handle membership, sponsoring. But in general, I think just try to do what fits best for you and for your community.
Had nog een vraag daarna?
There was a... Yeah?
Yeah, to answer that question, I think for me it would be Vanguard for the supermarket. Like minimal presentation, live coding, fun as hell.
Yeah, so to answer the question, for me it would be Venkat Subramaniam. You know the guy? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
There could be all the time many different opinions and ideas. Looking also at the time, still feel free to interrupt. Yes, please do. Exactly, that would be actually my next question. So let me rephrase it, because looking at the time, we need to start thinking about wrapping it up as well. On topic, one question from my side as well. I will connect it to that one. What is the worst experience or the biggest challenge you came across up until now, and how you were able to overcome it and go to the next step, and how you keep motivated yourself in what you're doing?
Well, I think one of the worst experience I did was I was organizing a meetup, and this was a couple of weeks after DevOps Belgium. DevOps Belgium is one of the better tech conferences in Europe, and we had 2 sessions that were both in the top 10 sessions overall of DevOps Belgium. So hundreds of people rated them to be their favorite session of DevOps Belgium. So we organized a meetup, and about 6 people show up. So we got speakers in from Poland and some people from the Netherlands, and the room was basically empty. So I'm like, okay, so what now? So we had a good time, but it felt not so right. And thinking back, I think the mistake we made there was announcing it too far up front, and then people maybe forgot about it, or the kind of the no-show problem we had before. So I would say give good thought about when do you open registration for an event, and do you send any people who signed up reminders to come? Because the event was fine, the speakers were great, but lots of people didn't show up.
Thanks.
Well, my worst experience was, I don't mention the sponsor's company's name, but we said, well, we are going to review your content, and they say, well, we'll send an abstract later, it will be all right. And I didn't follow up on it, and it didn't check. And suddenly there was a guy on stage in a suit and a tie, and he was selling all their products to developers for 45 minutes. And 45 minutes is really long time then. So that was a horrible experience. Check your content. Yeah.
My worst experience was I had a event with 3 parallel slots, and in one of the slots there was a speaker, and via Twitter I heard a lot of people were coming for that specific speaker, and he called in early that morning ill. So everybody came to the conference or to the event, but the speaker wasn't there. That was my worst experience. There are more of that sort of experience where the speaker is sick or ill or begging off at the last moment.
Well, forgot the date.
No, we had one.
It's tomorrow. No, it's today.
We had one from the Ukraine. She didn't come up. Also after contacting via mail and Twitter, etc. And that was the worst experience I had.
Any more? Yeah, Eric?
I think when not that many people show up, or not that when you 4 days before the meetup starts, you still have like 40 people or so, and then the meetup starts the day before that, it goes down to 20, and when the meetup starts, you are there with 6 people or so. And we basically fixed that. We sat down on a behind a table and just had a chat, because that's way more fun for me, because I can really talk with everyone then, because there are only 6 people, so that's easier for me than going around and trying to give everyone a hand. And at first, the first 50 minutes, it felt bad, but then it was, this is way better than the thing that should have happened in the first place, or that I had planned. So.
Ik denk dat we door de tijd heen zijn.
Yeah. We still have a few minutes, I guess, left for any other questions. Yes, please.
The end.
The end. There is the end. Let us answer this question after this one. Thanks a lot for coming, and also thanks a lot to all the community experts that were here.